Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringgit Sense. I'm your host, Azaria Tagaya. There's a saying, there are only two things certain in life, death and taxes. Last week, we talked about estate planning and how you can prepare your family financially for your death. Well, today we're going to be talking about the other certainty in life, which are taxes. For those of you who are salaried employees, the due date to file your income tax to the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia, or LHDN, is 30th April, just about a month from now. So there are those who file their taxes right away, but most people put it off until the very last minute. So in our first story, we speak to LHDN to ask them for tips on filing your income tax. If this is your first time doing it, then you better pay attention. We met with Ravi Chandran from LHDN and he offered these 5 tips for those who are filing their taxes for the first time. According to Ravi, salaried employees who earn 2,800 ringgit or more a month are already making monthly tax deductions or PCB. Companies already deduct a portion of their salary and submit it to LHDN on their behalf. All the employee has to do now is to register at LHDN's website and file their income tax to complete the process. There are 2 deadlines that everyone should take note of. Salaried employees and those with business income have different submission dates.
For a taxpayer, they should know their due date for submission of income tax return form. Okay, we have 2 categories of form here for those who are under employment income and those with business income. So for those with employment income, the due date for them to submit their return form is 30th of April 2018. That means on or before 30th of April 2018. Whereas for those with business income, the due date to submit their return form is 30th on or before 30th of June 2018.
Ravi says that new employees should file their taxes even if they already have monthly tax deductions, as there are many reliefs that will benefit them, as the deductions made by the employer on behalf of LHDN does not take into account the various reliefs that you may qualify for.
So this is automatic for an individual. You get 9,000 ringgit relief. All right. Then you have this medical treatment, special needs and carer expenses for parents. Okay, so this is restricted to 5,000 ringgit. That means for your medical treatment for your parents, you can claim up to 5,000.
Siblings can also share the cost of their parents' medical bills to make full use of the relief.
If you have many siblings and then each makes their payment or their fair share of payment for their parents, so you're allowed to pay to claim what you have paid.
There are other various reliefs for healthcare, education, and also for children. The most interesting one is the newly structured lifestyle relief. Previously, one could claim for books, sporting equipment, internet usage, and computer equipment separately. Grouping them together gives you more flexibility to decide what relief to claim for, up to a maximum of 2,500 ringgit. Other things added to this group is relief for parents who send their child to daycare and also breastfeeding equipment for mothers.
Purchase of breastfeeding equipment for own child up to 2 years old. Okay, and this relief is actually only available or you can only claim once in every 2 years. Okay, and it's given to the ladies, to the woman.
The new e-filing process is much simpler than the process of doing it manually using a printed out form. Calculations can be made online and you can file your taxes online too. Just remember that you're responsible for keeping all the necessary documents like receipts to show proof of what you spent and how much income you earn. If you're claiming for the book or newspaper reliefs, make sure you save the receipts. All these documents have to be kept for 7 years, so you have to file them somewhere safe.
PCB is basically just an estimation. Okay, it's not final tax. It's just an estimation. Okay, because your employer would not have known the details of the reliefs that you are eligible to claim. Okay, so what we have done is we have given the employer a schedule, and then based on the schedule they start deducting PCB once you touch. As I mentioned, for an individual who is single, if he's earning more than 2,800, he's already liable to be deducted for PCB.
All these reliefs add up to a sizable amount if both parents are working. Both working parents should file their taxes separately if they want to maximize the reliefs that both of them are entitled to.
The taxpayer is given a choice whether they want to file in as a separate assessment or they want to join their income together and declare as a joint income. All right. If in the event that both husband and wife has high income, it is advisable to declare separately. Because why? If you declare separately, both will get their reliefs. Okay, you get to claim the reliefs separately. So if you were to combine together, the reliefs are limited. So like if you are claiming for your parents' medical expenses, if it is 6,000, it's only 6,000. Total both only 6,000. But if you declare separately, then the husband gets to claim 6,000 and the wife gets to claim 6,000. Such is the thing. But if what you can do is you can, and also if you have child as well, some have a number of kids, so you should calculate and then you see which gives you the best tax saving.
For those who have a second income, for instance, as a part-time Grab or Uber driver, or even selling cakes on social media, you have to declare the income from these activities. All incomes are taxable. If you do not declare the income and get audited, you're liable to be fined. The good news, however, is you get to claim the cost of doing your business. For example, those who drive ride-sharing get to declare their fuel, servicing their car, and even the free water they provide in their car as a business cost. You just have to declare it under Form B, which is for those running a business. This is even for those who are salaried employees with PCB deductions.
This is where you declare your total sales or turnover. So if you are doing part-time business, your total income you have to punch in here.
Of the year?
Yes, for a year.
Okay.
All right. And then against the total income, you get to less of the expenses that you incur in doing the business. So you say in the event that you have to pay interest for your vehicle, your salary and wages, your commissions, bad debts, traveling and transport, repairs and maintenance, all these you declare here.
Remember to file your taxes early. If you're entitled to a refund, you'll get it within a month from your filing. If this is your first time, go through the LHDN website as it has a lot of information on how to file your taxes. If you need hands-on help on what reliefs you're entitled to, just visit their nearest office. Good luck!
Well, now that you've listened to LHDN, after the break, we'll be speaking to Datuk Haji Abdul Aziz Abu Bakar, the President of the Malaysian Association of Tax Accountants, on more tips. In the meantime, if you want to see the previous interview or share it with your friends, go to our Facebook page, Ringgit Sense TV3. More with us when Ringgit Sense continues. Welcome back. You're still with me, Azaria Tagaya, on Ringgit Sense, and we're talking about tips on filing your income tax. Now, joining us on the show today is Datuk Haji Abdul Aziz Abu Bakar, the President of the Malaysian Association of Tax Accountants, or MATA. Hello, Datuk Haji. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, so first up, let's start with what are some of the tax deductions that can be made for 2017?
First of all, thank you very much for having me in Ringgit Sense.
Our pleasure.
When we talk about filing of income tax return form, the most important thing for the people to know is actually to ensure that we claim all deductions or all reliefs that we are able to claim. We can claim. Some of the issues that when we do know about the tax reliefs, the complete tax reliefs available, we might miss some. So what we have to do is actually, there are a list of personal reliefs or reliefs and rebates that we can claim. The first one, of course, is the personal relief, which is $9,000 given to everybody. Then the second one is the wife relief. If you have two wives, for example, the maximum amount you can claim, if the wife is not working, is $4,000. Then we have the medical relief for the taxpayer parents, $5,000. We have medical relief for $5,000, like when we do medical checkup or medical examination by the taxpayer or the children. The total amount that we can claim is about $5,000. We have child relief. For each child is $2,000, and if the child is pursuing in their education in universities, colleges, it is about $8,000 a year per child. Then we have the SSPN, the Scheme Simpanan Pendidikan Nasional. I'm going to touch a bit on this because we have to understand the amount of relief, the maximum amount is $6,000, but it is actually the net amount deposited into SSPN during the year. So if there are withdrawal during the year, you have to deduct the amount deposited against the withdrawal, then only the net amount. So what we have to do is actually to ensure that we don't withdraw from SSPN, then ensure that we deposit $6,000 so that we can claim the maximum amount of relief under Scheme Simpanan Pendidikan Nasional for the children. Then we have EPF, we have insurance, $6,000, SOCSO, $250. Then we have education relief. If we were to pursue our in terms of education, in terms of Islamic finance, for example, we can also claim $7,000 as personal relief. An interesting thing about the personal relief in 2017, it is a new one. It is not a new one. What happened is actually, what the government has done is actually they lump up a portion of an element of relief into a lifestyle relief. Element of the factor in the relief is things like purchasing reading materials, for example, books for the children, books for you, the sports equipment, purchase of sports equipment, computer, smartphone, tablet, and gym membership fee, and also on the internet broadband subscription fee. So the total amount in 2017 is $2,500. If we compare it to 2016, the total amount of tax under this category is only about $2,300. So what the government has done is to increase it by $200 and to lump in all this relief together under a lifestyle relief. So it is good for the taxpayer because let's say if you purchase a smartphone, so you can claim the total amount, meaning the maximum is $2,500 compared to the previously.
Okay, what if a person is working and married? Should they elect for a combined or separate assessment?
Okay, I'll give you an example like the wife relief. If it is a combined assessment between the husband and the wife has income as well, the maximum amount that the husband can claim for the wife is $4,000. If it is a separate assessment, the wife can claim $9,000 personal relief. So apart from that, there are a lot of reliefs, and it is always good, and it's always better when both have earned income. Husband and wife, it is always good to have a separate assessment and separate file your tax return form separately.
Okay, and on that note as well, it's good to always keep your receipts. So how long should you actually hold on to these receipts? And most people don't really take this step into consideration.
Yeah, 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah, 7 years. You have to keep the receipts for every supporting documents to support your claims. For example, if you purchase a book in the bookstores, you have a printed receipt, and then you have to keep that receipt for about 7 years. So you see, over the years, things like receipts and all these things, over the years, it will fade away. Okay. So what we have to do is actually, what we do is actually we photostat it, we have it photostated, then when we file it. Okay. But we have to keep it for about 7 years. You need to have proper supporting documents to adequately explain filing of your return form. For example, your income. You need to have your EA form, or EC form for the government, okay? For the private sector is EA form. That will support the total income you reported. You report in your income tax return form. Things like, for example, you purchase a smartphone, you need to have the receipt. You have to keep the receipt for about 7 years. So all these supporting documents, you need not file it to the income tax department when you do e-filing, but you have to keep it for 7 years. If you don't, when the LHDN or the Inland Revenue Board, they come for tax audit, for example, then if you cannot adequately explain to them in terms of have supporting documents to explain, most probably you'll be fine.
Most people don't really know what are their rights when actually doing their own assessment. Anything that they should take note of?
Declare your income adequately, declare total income, and then claim whatever you are eligible to do. Don't overclaim. I'll give you an example. For example, like reading materials, or if you purchase the total amount of lifestyle relief, only you purchase the reading material for about $1,000, then you claim 2,500 lifestyle relief. So you actually overclaim your relief. So if you do that, there's a possibility. Of course, it's quite difficult for LHDN to know, the difference between 1,000 and 2,500 yang you overclaim, that you overclaim your personal relief or your lifestyle relief. But it is better to do it properly, to file your income tax return properly, and then you won't have worries.
Okay, we're going to go for a short break. After we come back, we're going to be talking more about filing your taxes, and maybe it's your first time filing your taxes this year. We'll have some tips from Datuk Haji after this when we come back on Ringgit Sense. Welcome back to Ringgit Sense. You're still with me, Azaria Tagaya, and we are in the last quarter of the show, and we're talking about filing your taxes together with our guest today in studio, Datuk Haji Abdul Aziz Abu Bakar, the president of the Malaysian Association of Tax Accountants, or MATA. Okay, Datuk Haji, before the break, we talked about the basics of knowing your taxes, what you can actually file for, the tax deductions. Now I want to touch on people who maybe what happens if they know that they're taxable, but they haven't paid any taxes. What happens to people like this, especially if it's been going on for years? Okay.
The first thing we have to understand is there's a guide in terms of when your income, monthly income, reaches about 3,200 per month, you have to seriously consider about your tax liability. That is the threshold. That is the minimum guideline to ensure that the income that you receive, if it is about 3,200 and above, you need to look into your tax matters. That is the first thing. You see, the second thing that you have to do is you have to file your tax return form. Failing which, there will be some fines and penalties and those things. And the third thing, if you don't make your payment in terms of, but if it is a salaried individual, of course it will be under the monthly tax deduction by the employer, then there's no issue. So the only issue is actually filing your tax return. So what you have to do is for salaried individuals, by 30th April, you have to file your tax return form. You can do it through e-filing or manually, but of course, the Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri encourage people to do the e-filing. And if for individual having a business income, you can file your return form and latest by 30th June 2018. An interesting fact about this filing of return forms, you see, if you do it earlier, meaning it is not on the last date, you see, if there is any possibility of tax refund, and if the Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri is late in paying refund to you, you will get about 2% per annum compensation from the Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri because of the late payment of the refund. So it is actually a way to encourage the taxpayer to file their return form earlier, rather than waiting for the last minute for them to file the tax return form.
What about people who never pay taxes?
Okay, I don't think they can get very far because you see, once you see. In normal circumstances, when you don't declare your income and then you don't pay tax, you accumulate wealth. So once you accumulate wealth, there will come a time that you will start spending the wealth, like purchasing properties or any kind of assets. So when that happens, a lot of this agreement of purchasing of properties, for example, if you purchase land and property, it has to have a sales and purchase agreement. It has to be stamped. at the Inland Revenues Office. So it will be picked up there and then. So then the LHDN will query, will ask questions, will check with the taxpayer, the purchaser, the buyer, how they accumulated their wealth. So over the years, even though if you don't declare, there will come a time when you start spending, you'll get caught. Trust me, I've been in the tax field, I mean, in the tax consultancy services for so many years, and I've seen people. And then the amount of penalty, fines that you have to pay is not worth it. So what you have to do is actually file in terms of annually when your tax liability is still small, and there's no unnecessary tax burden to you in terms of fine and penalties.
What about if people pass away? Who's liable for the taxes?
Okay. When somebody passes away, apart from sending the death certificate to the banks and all those things, so you need to send one copy of the death certificate to Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri to tell them, to inform that the taxpayer has passed away, and then they can take corrective actions by them talking to the administrator. Okay. The tax liability has to be administered by the administrator. So as an administrator, when you sell off the assets, settle off the liabilities, which includes tax liability. So it has to be paid.
Now, we hear that LHDN is actually has been reported to be aggressively pursuing those who don't pay their taxes this year. So, what's your take on that?
Okay, you see, when the taxpayer do aggressive tax planning, so you can expect the same from the other side, from the Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri. If it's not a scheme of tax planning scheme, so I think they are quite okay. Tax audit are more in terms of, I think it is a bit advisory, but during the course of audit, it is an advisory approach, meaning checking to ensure that all written forms are properly filled and they declare the income properly and claim in terms of expenditure and reliefs in proper way and pay the tax. We see, in terms of tax audit, what they do is actually when they find out there's an element of fraud, for example, element of negligence, and omitting the income. So it is quite a serious offence. Okay,
so before we wrap though, what would be your tips to our audiences, maybe some of the people watching today who are filing their income tax for the first time this year?
Okay, visit Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri portal. That is very important. You can visit www.hasil.gov.my. And it is a very comprehensive portal in terms of, and it's quite complete in terms of tax knowledge. Just visit the portal and then go through the portal. And then second thing, comply. You have to comply, and then don't try to run away from tax because you won't get far. And my advice is actually to declare your income. Better to take the first footing when you are in the or you are going into business for the first time or going into the employment world for the first time in terms of working and all these things. Do it right the first time, and then don't try to be smart in terms of not disclosing and hoping that they won't catch you, but they will. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, on that note, thank you so much, Dato' Haji Abdul Aziz Abu Bakar, for joining us today on Ringgit Sense.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, guys, that's the show for today. Now, we hope this episode on filing your taxes has been beneficial for all of our audiences. If you missed any part of the show today, or maybe you want to watch some parts again, go to our Facebook page, Ringgit Sense TV3. We also have other personal finance tips to share with you from time to time, so don't forget to connect with us there. I'm Azaria Tagaya signing off for now. Remember, spend and invest wisely, and we'll see you next week.